Ready, Robin? Good afternoon, members of the media. Thank you for joining us today here at the Hamilton Police Station, where we're going to be rolling out the strategic and operational plan for the Bermuda Police Service for the years 2021 to 2026. The Commissioner is going to kick things off for us this afternoon.
Thank you, Gary. I'm joined this afternoon by the Deputy Commissioner, Darren Simons, and the Chair of the Bermuda Police Association, Inspector Kenton Trott. I'm delighted to announce today to the public the launch of the BPS's new strategic and operational plan, not least as we've been on a journey for the past 18 months assisting government in regards to managing the COVID pandemic. Why have we chosen to announce this to the public? Well, this is the community's plan. It's what we as BPS see as our demand going forward for the next 5 years. And it's what we plan to do in investing our resources to address that demand, from the risks of serious and organised crime, and our role is to keep Bermuda as safe as possible and protect lives, but it also goes right the way through to matters of local communities, parish policing, dealing with those issues from a preventative point of view before they actually become crimes in themselves. The plan has taken a lot of consultation, and I'm delighted that it's been supported by the whole organisation. And the plan incorporates a new set of 7 ambitions. And those 7 ambitions are about getting the best out of our officers and staff. It looks at our investment to leadership, our investment to well-being, our investment to how we empower our staff to do the right thing in support of victims. So our publication of the plan today is so the public know exactly what we're here to provide. But also we're receptive to their ideas, because we need to be a listening service as much as we need to be a doing service. And we're also accountable to the plan, and we will communicate how we're performing and what we intend to deliver. So with that in mind, I'm going to introduce Mr. Simons just to talk about our new values that we've set for the service as to how we'll work, and just a bit more specifics around the headline areas that we're going to focus on. Deputy Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner. So just in terms of a little bit of an overview of how the plan is structured, inside the plan we have our values, and our values, which were developed largely by senior command and with broader consultation, are trust, learning, courtesy. And I like to think and remember this as TLC. So trust is really important, and we all intrinsically know that relationships that exist where there are high trust environments, they're so much more effective and efficient. So trust is very important. So we support our staff to make decisions and take actions. Learning is very much a key element of any job, but in particular policing. So very often things don't go as planned, and it is about learning. It's about what can we do differently, how do we remedy the situation, and how do we make sure that if things didn't go quite as according to plan, that we're able to get better next time. And courtesy. I think courtesy is a very unique Bermudian feature of our culture and our society. And courtesy is kind of that oil that helps relationships run a bit smoothly or smoother. And we need to be focused on having courtesy at the very core of how we do what we do. So we were considerate whilst discharging all of our duties. So we have 3 values. There are also 4 vision statements. Now, when you have a strategic plan, the vision is kind of like, as you look out into the future, what do things look like, or what's your end state supposed to be? And just some words to kind of describe that. So we have 4 vision statements which talk about, we provide a first-class service. We protect victims, particularly the most vulnerable. We work in partnership to solve problems. Partnership working, you're going to see, is a theme in the plan. Our staff make a difference in the community. Now that's in the context of doing the job of policing, but it's also just the broader community. Things like we have officers that are involved in Big Brothers Big Sisters, we have officers that are involved in many fraternal organizations, officers that are heavily involved in the community in terms of sporting events and things like that. So those are our 4 vision statements, and then there are 5 strategic priorities. And this is where kind of the rubber meets the road in the plan in terms of some very specific direction. There's 5 main headings. So reducing serious crime and protecting vulnerable persons. And that is about, well, one of the elements in there, there's lots of things to do, but one of the elements in there is a little bit of focus around mental health training and awareness. Without a doubt, if you look in any newspaper, you watch the news, mental health issues are going to be a topic that comes up. So we really need to work to develop our awareness and our skills in responding and dealing with individuals that have mental health challenges, vulnerable people. Raising confidence with the police is number 2. And you know, public confidence sits at the very heart of what policing has to, or what policing requires in order to be successful. We work in partnership with the community. The community needs to be confident in us. So we're putting energy specifically in raising the confidence of the community that's in us. And some of the things that we're going to do in there is really work on improving first contact. So the first time you contact us, we want to make sure that we are doing the best that we can to meet that need, not bouncing you around the organization, equipping people and informing officers so that they have the knowledge to respond and deal with issues on first contact, and keeping victims better informed. The reality of our situation is, you know, that's probably the number one thing people really sort of say about us. You know, the police responded, they did a really good job when they attended, and I'm just not sure what's happening. We recognize that, we hear that, and we want to put energy into making sure that we do better in providing people with information and keeping them informed. Reducing harm on our roads. I mean, that is very topical right now. We have, not only is it a strategic priority, but we've declared it in policing terms, we've declared it a critical incident. We have a specific operation that's running right now, and without a doubt, you would see an awful lot of police officers out there doing traffic enforcement kind of work right now. So reducing harm on our roads is very key. And as we move out into the next sort of evolution of CCTV, we will see us leveraging technology to help and assist in traffic enforcement. The next one I talked a little bit about, it's in our vision and it's one of our strategic priorities, and that's working in partnership. So there's a lot of ways, we've just generally recognized that we can't do it alone. Whatever the problem or issue that we're trying to address, we are very clear that when we work together as a team, and not just we're talking about within the organization, but in the broader community, we're better able to be successful. So we recognize the need to reduce silo working and increase our partnershiping. So working in partnership and a number of opportunities for partnerships, particularly in driver behavior, so like the Road Safety Council, the broader government, child safeguarding, and mental health challenges in the community, working with all the other agencies that are involved in addressing that. Those areas of concern is where we're going to put energy into. And the last one is developing digital policing. So unless you've lived under a rock, you know that pretty much everything we do involves technology. And policing really needs to evolve to address that issue. So almost in every incident that police deal with, there's an element of technology that we can take advantage of to help us, to help solve crime. So we want to develop our cybercrime response and capability. And we're also looking to really sort of push down digital forensic skills across the entire organization. So officers really understand, what, IP address is, how a cell phone may be able to be used to assist in solving crime. And the last thing in the sort of the digital policing is working with government to design and implement the next iteration of CCTV. I like to think of it as CCTV 2.0. The current infrastructure that we have in place is about 7 years old, and it really does need to be refreshed, and certainly the police and the broader government are very much committed to seeing the next iteration of that. So there in a nutshell, 3 values, 4 vision statements, and 5 strategic priorities to kind of provide the structure of the plan. Thank you.
Inspector Trott.
Good afternoon, everyone. As the chairman of the Bermuda Police Association, we just wanted to make sure to let the public know, and also the media and everybody, that we offer our support to this plan. Obviously, we as the members are responsible for enacting it and making sure that it takes place. So the BPA is going to make sure that we enact this and do what we can, do our part, so to speak. My responsibility as the chairman of the Police Association is to look out for our members. My primary role is a police officer, so we always put the public first, victims first, the community first. However, my other role as the chairman of the Police Association is to look out for the welfare of the Bermuda Police Association members and those members in our organization. So one of the important things is that for the 7 ambitions specifically, we always look out for the public. But this also speaks to making sure that our members are well. Because if our members are not well, if our members are not supported, if our members are not motivated and encouraged, they're not going to be able to fulfill these objectives and aims and values. So what we're making sure to do is work in collaboration with the Bermuda Police Service and all the relative policies that will sit under various aspects of the plan, we are intricately involved with. So not only is it saying, oh, here you go, take this, just make sure you go and get it done. The commission and the team are actually inviting us from the very beginning to say, okay, this is what we want to do, and this is how we're going to get there, and welcomes our input. So we just definitely want to offer our support, the values, the vision, the strategic priorities. The Bermuda Police Association will work hard, and we will also make sure to take care of our members.
Thank you, Inspector Trott. Happy to take any questions.
Well, thanks for having us. I guess from the public point of view, what would be the most visible aspect? What's going to change that people will see with this being implemented?
Yeah, I think, Jonathan, one of the things that the public want is visibility, and they want attention to issues when they're contacted, which is one of the points that Mr. Simons touched on, that we get it right first time. And underneath there are other streams. We're looking at modernising the service and trying to maximise the number of police officers that are actually working in the community. So that greater level of visibility, that greater level of attentiveness and that right first time is probably going to be the most notable difference that the public are going to see and what we're going to be held to account for. But there's a lot of hidden harm in our communities, and it's touched on in regards to the vulnerability agenda. There are things that happen behind closed doors, and we reflect on things like domestic abuse. And it's one of the crime categories that are actually rising, and I welcome that. I welcome that because that is an indication that victims have got conflict coming forward, and perhaps it's crime that's existed that just wasn't brought to our attention. And beyond those cases, beyond those incidents of perhaps violence and abuse involving adults, we've got to look beyond that and see the children within those environments as well. What do we do to support them? And I had a very interesting meeting with SCARS, and obviously there are other bodies such as the Child Advocacy Group, the Coalition for Children. And how do we work with them to share information, collectively work around vulnerability? So there's a lot of things that the public are going to see, but there's a lot of public things that the public won't see because we're actually dealing with issues that are hidden. And I always like to describe policing as an iceberg, and people see some quite visible things on top, but there's a colossal amount of things that go underneath. And one of our priority roles, in fact, if not the, is the protection of life. And whilst we have great concern to when somebody loses their life in Bermuda, particularly in regards to gun-related criminality, what is not known by the public is a considerable number of incidents in that time that are stopped. And that's not something that we can necessarily tell the public because we work in many cases on intelligence, covertly and so forth. So we actually keep Bermuda safe and sleeping safely at night, and actually not necessarily have to tell the public about that.
Is there a top challenge in the consultation that came up in terms of policing? I guess what's the top challenge that the force faces?
Well, the top challenge is something that's faced by all public services. We've got to recognise, in partnership with government, we're working at a time of austerity. And one of the things in the 7 ambitions is to keep, and it's something that Mr. Trott mentioned, we've taken great investment involving the whole service in this. A lot of our 7 ambitions are about keeping people well, valued, motivated and supported in the workplace, because there is a phrase that absence often makes others work harder. So keeping people at work and keeping people focused actually gives us a greater ability to provide service. So that's one of our biggest challenge, because our budget, 80% of it is people. They're our most important asset. So the biggest challenge that we face is keeping those assets well trained, professional, motivated, and ready to serve Bermuda as public servants.
There was a mention there of updating the CCTV camera system. Do we know roughly when that might be happening?
Well, I think as Mr. Simon said, there's a programme of work, Jonathan, to address the current CCTV infrastructure. Taking into account sort of Bermuda's climate, it does get tested, and that work is ongoing. But we're trying to look forward to the future. This significant opportunity investing in software and technology, and when we relate it to issues around driver behaviour, road safety, issues around speed enforcement, average speed, monitoring traffic, that's the direction we want to go. Mindful of obviously the financial challenges, but being done very much in consultation with government. And I know particularly the support, engagement and conversations that we continue to have with the Minister for National Security. So it's an area of business that has its challenges, but it's an area of business that offers great value. Because again, as spoken about, leveraging technology actually gives us greater benefits as a police service. But the greatest benefit of all is to work with our community, because the police are actually part of the community and the community are part of the police. And if we share information effectively, we get that confidence, then in actual fact we can collectively deal with many issues that otherwise would be challenges.
I guess my last question would be just on that technology one. It's a personal interest. It's a 5-year plan, so are we looking at having the cameras? The aim is to have them updated within that 5 years?
I would hope so. Yeah, I mean certainly work is ongoing. I think it's important that we're conscious of some of those challenges. And it very much is a very supportive cross-government conversation, because it's not just policing benefit that cameras give us, many other aspects in regards to just being able to monitor traffic flow, Ministry of Transport and others. So whilst I can't tie us down to a time, our ambitions over the next 5 years will hopefully see the landing of a better a more technology-enhanced CCTV structure.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, no more questions. Thank you very much.